Good morning, everybody, and it's great to connect with you this morning. And thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time while you're having your breakfast or while you're having your cup of tea or whatever you're doing. Today, we move on to our next person. I was going to say our next person in the Faithful Hall of Fame. This is an interesting one because we were going to look at Barak, but we're actually going to look at Deborah. And this is really interesting because it's Barak who is mentioned, but Barak and Deborah work together really well, and it's really hard to talk about Barak without talking about Deborah. And we thought we'd mention Deborah as well because you don't hear much about Deborah. She's a female in the Bible she's the only judge in the Old Testament who was female, so it's quite nice to include her as well as mentioning Barak too. I find it quite funny. Her name means bumblebee, and Barak means lightning. So this is the adventures of Bumblebee and Lightning, and you can find it in the book of Judges. Last week we did about Gideon, and he was in the book of Judges too, if you remember whereabouts he was. He was Judges 6, and you can hear about Deborah and Barak in Judges 4 and 5. So when I was little, I used to sing a song all about the books of the Old Testament. So you go Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, and there you are in Judges. And there's two versions of Deborah and Barak's story. There's kind of a story version in Judges 4, and then there's a song version. So if you want to sing the story, you read it in Judges 5. There you go, bit of an option for you. Now Deborah, she was interesting because she was a judge and she was also a prophet. A judge was somebody who made decisions on people who were arguing, who were couldn't agree on something, and they would go to the judge and the judge would say what they thought. But she was also a prophet, and a prophet was somebody who spoke for God, who heard from God and spoke God's word, spoke what he was saying. So in a way, she was an amazing judge because she was not only speaking from her heart, but she was actually speaking from God's heart. Deborah used to sit under a palm tree. And these palm trees, the ones that she used to sit under, could grow between 30 and 65 feet high. And everybody knew where to find Deborah because she would be outdoors under the palm tree. And I thought that was really good that she was accessible, that you could find her. She wasn't hidden away. She was under this palm tree. And she got so known to be under the palm tree that the palm tree was known as the Palm of Deborah. Quite nice to have a palm tree named after you. I wonder what I've named after me. Maybe, I don't know. I'll let you have a think about that. She spent her time under this palm tree. And if you needed advice from her, then you would go to the palm tree. And so I thought we would make a palm tree this week. This palm tree became a symbol of Deborah, and it became a symbol of fairness. Of things being fair. Now, when I was little, me and my sister used to talk a lot about being fair. When we were having an argument, or we thought that one or the other had something that the other hadn't had, then we would have this phrase, and this phrase would go, fair to the other. So if my sister thought that I was getting away with something, then she would say to my mum and dad, fair to the other. And if I thought that she was getting away with something, she was getting something, maybe her chocolate cake was bigger than mine, then I would say, fair to the other. See, even from being very, very little, we have this sense inside us of what's fair. And the thing about God is that God doesn't have favourites. God doesn't favour one person over the other. He's a fair God. A word for it in the Bible is justice. Quite a big word, but he's a fair God. He's a God of justice. And Deborah was somebody who helped people to work that out. So when they were at a point where they just couldn't agree, they went to Deborah, and Deborah helped them find that out. So the palm tree is this symbol of fairness and of justice, and it's to remind us two things, I reckon, this week. One thing, that God loves us, that he cares for us, that he doesn't have favourites, and that he's on our side all the time. He's a fair God. And number two, it also reminds us that we also need to copy what God is like, just like Deborah did. So we need to be fair as well. And we need to try and hear and try to be fair and speak with not just our words or someone else's words, but God's words. And spend time listening to him so that we know what his heart is. I'm going to make this palm tree now, and I'm going to show you, and hopefully if we all make one this week, maybe this will be a symbol for us to remember that God is a fair God, and he loves us all. I have made a bit of a glittery palm tree, and I've used what I have. Some people won't have green paper or brown paper in their house. So, and I didn't either. So I'm just trying to encourage you to use whatever you have as long as you're allowed. So in my house, I happened to find a copy of Vogue, she do, and I found a vase or a tub. And basically, you basically need some paper, you need some scissors, and you need some kind of glue or tape. I've lost my tape. Where's it gone? Some tape. And what you need to do is, and it might be a newspaper that you've got, you might have a big piece of paper, you need to get a piece of paper. Now you can do a huge palm tree or you can do a tiny palm tree. That's up to you. It's the same process, whatever you're doing. So you get your piece of paper and you fold it like this. So you roll it round, like this. So you roll, and you should have had practice at rolling from making your trumpet last week with Karen. And then when you've rolled it, and you might want to roll it with a pencil in like Karen did. I've just kind of just done mine, but you might want to do that. Get some glue or some sellotape or a bit of masking tape. You know how much I love masking tape. And kind of stick your, and this is going to be like the, trunk of the palm tree. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually get some more paper, and you need just pieces like this, about, if you can make them straight. If it's really annoying you that I'm ripping, if you're a bit more precise, then cut them out, that's fine. So you need a piece like, pieces like this, really. And what you're going to do is, these are going to be the markers on the palm tree. So you wrap it round. I actually quite like it when it's ripped because it does look a little bit more wiggly like it is on a palm tree. So you wrap it round the bottom of the palm tree and then you stick like this. And basically you do this all the way around. So you get another piece, you wrap it round, and you start to see, can you see, this is one I've done, here's one I've done earlier. Here you go, look, can you see that with these different pieces stuck around, you've got the nice lines that the palm tree has. So that's the idea. Okay, so you need to do that all the way up. I'm not going to do that now because it'll take me quite a while. But then the actual palm bit, the palm leaves, which of course famously were used when Jesus was coming into Jerusalem when we talk about Easter. For that, you're literally just cutting down part way down. Can you see that? So you do a few cuts. That's Daisy in the background. She didn't want to help me today. She wanted to watch Aladdin. She'll do it on Sunday, which of course it is today. Right, here we go. So you cut down and then you basically just open out the palm like that. And actually, when you use something different, it does look quite fun actually. But you could use anything for that. And then you need to think of a way of standing it up. So if you've got a tub or something like that, you can stick it in your tub. I happen to find some of this in my house. So you can kind of stuff that. You might have some pebbles. It can stand in pebbles. That would work too. So have a think and see how you can stand up your palm tree and put the palm tree in the middle and leave it up for the week as a symbol to remind us that God is a fair God, and he calls us to be the same. And so this week, are we fair with our family? Are we fair with our brothers and sisters? Are we fair with the people we meet? And if we're not and we're struggling with that, then just like me, we need to spend time with God and ask him what he's thinking about these things. I hope you enjoy making your palm trees. I would love to see the different versions. I want someone to make a giant one, please. Could you do that? That would be amazing. Some tiny ones. Who can make some tiny ones? But have that palm tree in your home this week as a reminder of Deborah, and of course of Barak, who trusted Deborah, who knew that he was being called by God as a person of faith, as a warrior, but he said, I will go if you go, Deborah, and if you don't go, I won't go. And he knew the importance of Deborah in his life, and they went together. And as the story goes, which you will find out in a little bit, there's a reoccurring story throughout all of Judges. The people of God, the Israelites, they kept getting it wrong. They kept being unfaithful to God. They moved away from God. They ended up having to fight their enemies. The judge came in to help them, and they were okay for a bit. And then it happened again, and it happened again. And of course, like a lot of Old Testament stories, there's lots of other stuff in there as well that you can pick out of that. So I shall leave that up to you. Have a look on the playlist, and I hope you get something from the rest of the morning. Stay safe, everyone. Bye bye.